Okay, so we got the new gas valves installed, and since I've essentially made the executive decision to not paint the base, like the main part of the grill, and we're just going to paint the hood, I'm going to start reassembling it because I'm pretty much done cleaning the whole thing. Because I don't have to sand it and do all that stuff and disassemble it more. We really just need to put it all back together. So we're going to start with the rotisserie. So y'all remember where I left this, right? Cleaned it. I actually checked to make sure this was firing, and it is. Let's see if I can show you. Let's see if I can capture it on film. Not sure if you guys can see that or not, but I assure you that it is working. So we're going to put that back together, and then we are going to adjust the front knobs, and I'll show you why after I get the rotisserie put back together. Let's go ahead and knock that out first. It'll take me 10 minutes. So remember I told you bag all your screws and all your parts. So now we know all the screws right here are to put that rotisserie back on. Sucker cut me a little bit. Okay, so that's all the screws on the inside. There's 4 on the back that hold that cover on. I'm gonna put those on real quick. Okay, let's talk about the knobs on the front for a second. You guys saw me just a minute ago. I put all the cover plates back on. And what I didn't realize was that the new valves shifted just a little bit, not allowing the plates to get centered on the knobs. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So on this one, you can see how there's more space right here than there is over here. And what that does is it doesn't allow you to push this in to do the ignition. Okay, so what we're gonna have to do is pull the knobs off. Okay, loosen these little screws, just loosen them, don't take them out. And then we're gonna just scoot this over just a little bit so that it lines up when we put our knob on. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. So you can see this one doesn't click. Oh, well, that one does click. This one doesn't click. Okay, well that one clicks too. All right, they all click. The click means that the spark is going off to light the gas, but it's not centered and it's going to bother me, so I'm going to fix them all. So this one is fixed now. Perfectly centered. All I did was loosen up those screws. Do not take those screws out or you will start all the way back at the beginning trying to fix those, trying to fit those damn screws back in that valve. So, I don't know if y'all remember, but the rotisserie had a rusted screw and I couldn't get it out. And what I ended up doing was grabbing a pair of needle nose pliers and just manhandling it and unscrewing that rusted out screw. And I went up to my hardware store and found 2 to replace it so we can get this cover re-secured back on the rotisserie correctly. All right, no lie, that rotisserie one was way out of alignment. I just barely got it to fit. I think it was because those new valves have that extra space that we were looking at. It kind of like threw the alignment on all of them off a little bit. And that rotisserie one was not easy, but I got it to work. It will work. It's not a perfect fit, but, and I could only get 1 screw in there. I had to adjust that plate. So that's what it looks like right now. It ain't perfect. It's gonna bug me, but anyway, that's the way it goes. Nothing ever goes back quite the way you took it apart. I'm gonna do the last one and then we'll see what's next. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna put the 2 little side tables back on, the side burner and the workstation. It's gonna be the side burner and the work platform station right here. And those are just held up by 4 bolts. If you bagged everything and you bagged all your parts and you labeled them, should be relatively quick little install. So let's go grab the screws and grab the parts and we'll put it all back together. All right, we're gonna start with the side shelf. Here's my little baggie with my little screws and washers. And we'll just bust out the old ratchet again and ratchet it back on. Hi, baby girl. You helping me? Easy peasy. Just those 4 bolts, a little 1/2-inch ratchet. Oh my gosh, we're getting close. Nice. Okay, let's get our side burner put on now. Right here. Same thing as the little side table. Just 4 bolts that hold the shelf up there. And then we'll put the burner piece back on. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the side burner. So this is a really simple reinstall. I don't know if you remember when we took it apart. It's basically just a bracket underneath that screws into 2 screw holes on the underneath side of this. Super simple. I kind of already fitted it in there, but I'll redo it and show you guys what it looks like going in. Super easy. So this part, this big valve right here, fits underneath this little bracket that's welded to this top plate, and then you have this bracket right here that just holds everything together. So all you do is slide that in there like so. Make sure you get it lined up underneath with the manual over there. There we go. Easy peasy. Then you get underneath with your little bracket and your screw. And we'll get finger tight first. It's always easier just to get it finger tight. All right, pretty straightforward. So that's back on there. We attached our 2 screws right here on either side of that little bracket, and that's what holds it in place. And then all you gotta do is hook up the gas back to right there, and your striker back to right here. So I'm gonna put you all down and reconnect that, and then we'll be done with that. All right, so that's the side burner all put back together. We'll have to test functionality once I get the gas hooked back up to it and get all the internals completed and everything. Or maybe I'll test it a little sooner than that. Hopefully it doesn't need a new valve or a new striker. I didn't see a spark coming off of it, so it may need a new part. hopefully not. I don't want to spend any more money on this. All right, so that's the knob situated. That's the two side panels put back on. They look nice and clean. The next big project we're going to do on this is replace this drip pan right here, this heat shield. I'm going to go online and buy this part. There's only one place I could find it. It's $60, probably $70 after it's shipped. And we're going to have to grind these off, these little weld points right down here and right there and right here and right there. We're gonna have to grind those off or chisel them off to get this piece out, and then we'll put the new one on, and we'll use high heat JB weld to reattach the new one, since I don't have a welder and I don't know how to weld. It's on my to-do list. I will learn how to weld. Then we'll clean the burner and we'll paint the top and do all the other fun stuff that still is left to do. All right. Okay, so while we're waiting for the heat shield to come in for the bottom of the base over there, I'm gonna actually do a fun part that I've been kind of wanting to do, which is start painting some of the hardware. So these are the knobs, and you can buy replacements for these online. They're like, I don't know, probably around $9 a piece. I'm gonna hit these with some degreaser, these old ones, and then sand them down with some 320. And then I'm gonna spray paint them black and see how they come out. You know, they're just a knob, it's just a piece of plastic. None of them are broken, and they all still seem to be in fine condition other than being faded. If this goes well, then we'll get those drying, and then we'll spray paint some of the other hardware like the handles and whatnot. All of those are gonna be black as well, because some of the metal coating that's on them is starting to kind of chip, and it just kind of looks old. So I'm basically gonna start with the knobs here, and we'll move on from there. So let's get started. So first we'll start with some 320. Actually, first we're gonna start with degreaser. Get them cleaned up a little bit. Yeah, they're pretty dirty. Okay, we got them degreased and cleaned up. Hit them with a little 320 sandpaper. It's weird, you can see all the years of dirt coming off of these. Really smoothed out though, they feel pretty good. Okay, so you're probably wondering what this box is with these nails sticking out of it. Essentially, I made myself a little spray paint box here. Just like a little jig to hold these knobs. And basically what I'm trying to do is elevate them off of a flat surface so that I can get a good coat on them without the paint or the item actually sticking to like whatever surface it is that I've put them on. So I've got these nails that will fit inside the little holes in the bottom, and I'll show you that in just a second. So those are the holes, and I found some nails that they can just sit on like that. I don't know why I thought there were 6, but there's only 5. So that's how they look when they're on there. Let's get to painting. Okay, all I'm using is some Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch 2X Ultra Cover Black Gloss for wood, metal, plastic, and more. This is paint and primer in one, and it's just a black gloss. Always buy 2 cans because inevitably something's gonna go wrong. Freaking tip broke off this one. All right, let's go. So you never want to just start on the object. you want to come across it when you're painting like this. So start before the object and end after the object. That way you don't get any drips or anything coming off of your item that you're actually trying to paint. All right, coat 1 is on there. I think those look pretty good. Gonna be nice and shiny, like brand new. Check it out. I think those are gonna look real nice. So we're in the garage for a minute while those knobs dry, and I want to look at the actual handle that goes on the hood, because I want to paint the silver part of that, and I'm going to replace the main bar, and I'm going to make that wood. I'm going to hold on to the metal one in case the wood wears out or doesn't turn out the way I want it, but I would like it to be wood, like a stained wood. I think that'll look really nice. So let's look at the handle itself. So here it is. And you can see the only thing that's holding it in there are these little rivets right here. Okay, so what we're going to do to get those out, since it's not a screw, is we're going to take our drill and drill it out. Now we're not trying to go all the way through. All we're trying to do is loosen and cut through that rivet right there. Okay? All right, let's go. Okay, so you can see right here, the metal of the thing that I want to paint is actually softer than this rivet. So it's actually pushing it down into that metal. So I'm going to try a smaller drill bit and see if that helps, so I don't have to put as much downward pressure. You can kind of see the difference compared to that one. So let's see if that helps. And I switched drill bits. There we go. Boom. We're going to paint this piece black. There's the rest of the rivet. All right, let's do the other one. There we go, number 2. And that's how you drill rivets out. All right, so we'll hold on to this in case the wood doesn't look good or we don't like it or whatever, and we can always replace it. We'll just replace it with screws instead of rivets. But let's get these little bad boys cleaned up and we'll get them painted as well. Our gas knobs are dry. They look pretty good, but I'm gonna hit them with some 600 grit sandpaper, smooth them out a little bit more, and then we'll put another coat of black on there, and that ought to get them really, really nice looking. Okay, let's do that. Okay, second coat of paint on the knobs after we hit them with the 600 grit, and we degreased them again so that they got all the paint that I sanded off. Any residual paint that was sanded off was stuck to them. Cleaned all that off, and these look brand spanking new. Check it out. Dang! They look brand new. They look so good. They look way better than I thought they were gonna look. Cool. So I'm gonna let these dry, and next we'll paint the metal hardware. Okay. So for the handle holders that attach to the hood, these were really badly pitted and they had like some rust on them. So I sanded them down real good with some 320 grit. And they're like perfectly smooth now. You want to make sure that if you have any pitting or any rust, that you really sand the crap out of these, because if you put paint on them and they've got rust on them, the rust is going to come through the paint and the paint's going to flake off and they're going to look like garbage within like a year. So I'll give you kind of a close-up of what these look like now that I've sanded them. Nice and smooth. Can't feel any bumps on them. You can see I almost actually got through some of the chrome plating and brought out some of the base metal. I don't know what this is, but probably just cheap pot metal or something. But here's the other one. Nice and smooth. All those little black marks were all rust coming through the plating. Looks like I need to do a little bit more right there. But yeah, so that's what those look like. And what we'll do is we'll hit those with some self-etching primer, which will actually bond to the metal, and then we'll paint them black. Okay, so next we are going to paint some of the metal pieces. So we're going to paint those two little side pieces that I showed you that hold the handle on, and we're going to paint the side burner handle, and we're going to paint the thermostat ring. And since these are all metal, I've went ahead and I sanded them down, roughed them up, and degreased them and got them ready for paint. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to hit them with a self-etching primer, which actually bonds itself to the metal from what I understand, and will block all the rust from coming back. And then we'll sand that down with some 600 grit, possibly put another coat on, sand that down, and then paint it black so that it matches the knobs. All right, so here's what all those parts look like. And I went ahead and just used my same rig that I was using for the knobs, which is just a wooden box that I had with nails in it to prop everything up. You can see they're all nice and sanded and smooth. That's the ring that goes around the thermometer or the temperature gauge on the front. And this is the self-etching primer by Rust-Oleum. Stops rust. I definitely got some drips on that one. That was not a very good first coat, but we'll knock them down whenever we sand it. We'll knock all those drips down once they dry. And we hit it with that 600 grit. Smooth it all out, make it look nice again. Okay, so off camera I went ahead, the metal parts, the neighbor's dog every time I talk starts barking. I went ahead and sanded everything down, all the metal parts, with some 600 grit, and this is what they look like. You can kind of see that they're roughed up now. So we're gonna hit those with a second coat of primer. I almost forgot one of the coolest parts, the damn Ducane logo that goes on the front, which is also metal and needed to be sanded and primed. So I went ahead and sanded that down off camera again and got a coat of primer on it. Check it out. I can't wait to see them black. It's gonna look so good. On the black hardware, I went ahead and I sanded those with some 600 and put another coat of paint on them. So we got another layer of the gloss black, and they are looking really good. Check it out. I still have to get those handles off. That's going to be a chore. But what we're going to do now is paint the hood. And I've got it suspended from this, like, all my neighbor's dogs are out, from a swing set, as you can see here. And I just used a piece of wire and wrapped it around that swing holder. And then down here, I just used a bolt, just fed it through the main hole right there. That's probably going to be the spot that's going to be the hardest to get painted, just right there. But yeah, we'll see. I've degreased it and we're about to hit it with the old self-etching primer, and we'll get it going. Here we go. All right, first coat of primer's on. I'm gonna give that about an hour to dry. It's pretty warm out here. It's probably 50 degrees, 60 degrees in the sun. So we'll give it an hour to dry or so, and then we'll hit it with some 600 grit and get a second coat of primer on it. All right, so while y'all were off camera, I put about 3 more coats of primer on this bad boy. Okay, and so basically instructions on the can say 3 to 4 light coats with 2 to 3 minutes in between each coat, and then let dry for 3 to 4 hours, then sand. So we're gonna let it sit, for a little while. It's gonna be 3 to 4 hours for me. It's gonna be a heartbeat for y'all. But also what I did while the camera was off is I put another coat on these bad boys, and they're probably gonna have to dry for at least 24 hours because they are pretty wet. I was noticing when I was trying to sand that the paint was just not sanding off. It was just kind of rubbing off, which is not good. Not what you want at all. I also reattached the lid to the side burner with these 2 little screws right here. And I took the handles off the front, as you can see, because we're gonna paint those black too. And I brought those over here and started coating them with self-etching primer. And that's a little bit of dirt on my spray paint. Great. So we're gonna get these guys painted black to go with the rest of the black hardware, and just keep pushing on. It's a lot of painting, it's a lot of tedious work, but it's gonna get there and it's gonna pay off. It's gonna look great. So stick with me. All right. Okay guys, we're still waiting on the paint to dry, but look what showed up. Yes, look at the mirror finish on this thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is the heat shield to replace this rusted heat shield. Oh, now we've got to figure out how to get those off. And I'm thinking there's 4 of them. I've already undone this one because it was rusted out. But I'm thinking a flathead screwdriver might get it done. Just pry them up because they're rusted. I mean, they're in bad shape anyway. Put you all on a tripod and get a screwdriver and we'll see if we can get them out. It's clear to me that brute force isn't going to be able to do this. Let's try and grind them off. All right, so we tried the screwdriver. That didn't work. I tried a Dremel with a couple of different grinding wheels on the Dremel. That didn't work. So we busted out my second to big gun, this little guy. And basically this just has a blade, cutting blade on the front. I think it's called an oscillating saw. Okay, it's super loud, so I gotta wear earmuffs, but it's gonna make short work of this. I was trying not to go overkill, but sometimes you gotta go overkill. There she is, completely rusted out junk. Gonna be replaced with the brand new one. So one thing I did notice whenever I was trying to grind off the old one, the old heat shield with the Dremel, was that it polished the metal up real nicely. So what I'm gonna do is I got this plate where I want it, the new one, and I'm going to mark it off with a Sharpie, and then I'm going to polish it down to the raw metal. That way whenever I use the JB weld, it's raw metal to raw metal and it gets a really nice clean bond. Okay, it's just an extra step that I'm taking to ensure that this thing actually stays put once I get the adhesive, the JB weld on there. All right, so you can see I've taken a Sharpie and I've drawn around where each tab is going to land on the metal of the base metal of the grill, and those are where I'm going to polish and make it nice and shiny. Give me a minute and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, all polished up. Really makes me want to polish the whole thing, but it would literally take me days probably to polish the interior of this thing with that little Dremel, but look how clean it gets it. So that's where it's gonna that's where the tab this little guy on the new can is going to bond. You can see I clean that one up, clean that side, and clean that side. Look at the difference. Crazy. Like, can you just imagine having the patience to Dremel this entire thing out? It would look brand fucking new. But hey, that's seasoning, right? It's seasoning. So now we just need the JB Weld to show up. That's coming from Amazon. Should be here between 2 and 6 today, so who knows? Probably more like 6 than 2. All right, what time is it? Almost time to sand the hood blowing in the wind back there. So I don't think I've told y'all, but the color that I'm gonna paint this, and what I wanted to paint the whole thing, was big green egg green. I wanted the whole thing to look like a big green egg, even though it's like this stainless steel old ass Ducane. That's why I painted the hardware black. That's why I picked a Kelly green color for the hood, which you haven't seen yet, but you will. And it's also why I'm replacing the old metal handle with a wood one. So we've got our wood one that I've cut down to size. I've sanded with 320. It's real nice and smooth. Cleaned it off, wetted it down, resanded it until it's like this perfect smooth dowel. And this is a 1-inch dowel, which is the exact diameter of the original handle that's in metal. So what we need to do is we need to stain it. So I've got a couple of stains here that I think might get close, and we're gonna test them on the extra dowel that we have here. So I'm gonna test the color on this, not on the real one that I sanded, but on the extra. So you'll have to excuse the crazy workbench, but that's what it looks like whenever you have a giant project like refurbishing a freaking grill. For some reason I decided to do this. So here we go. We're getting close to the end, guys. All right, so I got a couple of colors here. I've got light walnut, traditional cherry, and then this is just sealer. So I've got 2 colors, and these are just a couple that I had sitting around the house, sitting over here in the garage. It's gonna save me whatever these cost, $7 a pop probably, because I used them for something else. This one looks really dark. Probably gonna be way too dark. Dang it, I think both those are too dark. So neither of those are the color that I want. That sucks. I'm gonna have to go up to Home Depot and get the color I want. I'm not gonna do that today. This will be the last thing that I finish. I was just trying to complete it while I was waiting for paint to dry, but it's all right. It's all right. We'll finish it later. So you'll notice there's nothing hanging behind me. That's because the wire broke. The hood fell to the ground. And now it's all chipped up to hell, like 4 coats of primer straight down to the metal. I'm gonna have to sand and reprimer. This really sucks. I mean, that's like right down to the metal. God damn it. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so I got it sanded, got it smooth, put another coat of primer on it. We're just gonna have to keep primering and sanding until all those little dings are out of there. I mean, I know it's a used grill and it's old and everything, but I still wanted it to look nice, so we'll just have to keep going until we can get them almost gone. But you can kind of see them. They're all right there. That corner was the worst. Nothing ever goes smoothly, does it?